Hello there, this is Sandy. I'm back at the Babylock Solaris 3 and I'm working on some edge-to-edge quilting in my journey to learn, and experience, work with this machine as much as possible, just to really get acquainted with it. And I want to feel good at the end of the day that I have become as familiar as I can with all the features of the machine. So I started last year, and I've been working with it for about a year, but only really sharing my journey for about, I don't know, 9 months. So today, working on this quilt, and normally I would put this in the quilt so that I've got some of this showing in, but because of the way I didn't have a whole lot of batting that I should have. So and I don't know, it's just the way that I decided to do this one. I thought I'm just going to quilt inside this area and like treat this as if it were batting, so that I just try and line up the quilting there and start there. And then we'll see how it looks. See if I can get it quilted as close to the edge as possible, and we'll just go with that. So that's how I'm going to do it today. And I've got my measurements here, so I'm going to go into the quilting feature, and number 4 is where I find the edge-to-edge guided process. There's 10 designs, and so I've used the star, I think this flower, the leaves. This is turtles, and so I'm trying to decide what one I want to use. Probably just this one here. It's either this one, which, I'm not sure how many minutes that one would take to stitch out. I guess I could also like make it wider. I can try and do that. So I'll try that one. And at the top here, it's highlighting where I can put in the measurement, 42 inches set. And then the length, I'm going to put 54 set. And I'm using my 10 5/8 by 16 hoop. So that's good. So then I'm going to press next. So it's showing me I have 20 hoopings in order to quilt this. And so that's good. I'm going to change the color. I think I'm going to change it to green, just because that's the color that I'm going to be using, is like a turquoise green. And then you'll see, usually, yeah, can't really tell. Let me pick a lighter green. And then you'll see how the colors changed. Then I can pick if I want single or triple stitching. I just want single, so I'm good there. I'll put that into memory, and it's just telling me, is it okay? I press okay. So I guess this area, I can't make the quilting smaller. I was thinking of IQ Designer. But I am going to try and use this guided process just to see how it looks, and we'll give it a go. So here it's in the embroidery area of the machine. So I'll press this first icon, which shows 42 by 54, which is the measurements I put in, 20 rehoopings. So I press that, and it pulls them all up. I'm always going to use this one to the far left because that's the guided process. This is the areas where I think you go if you want to go outside of the guided process. The Z's, I think, stand for all of the bottom row quiltings, but I haven't used this feature. I've always used the guided process when I use this feature of the machine. So here where it shows the 20, that's the one I'm going to use. You'll see A1, there's 3 rows of A1, 3 rows of A2, 3 rows of A3, 3 rows of A4, or it could be, I'm saying rows, but it could be hoopings. Yeah, it's hoopings probably. And then 3 rows of A5. So 5 times 3 is 15. And then the Z1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the last row, I believe. So, but those are not machine guided. I tried using those before, and I didn't see that the machine was guiding us through with the instructions. And then that's just where I prefer to stay right now. So I'm going to hit that first one and press set. and it's telling me about the hoopings and how I should hoop it. So I'll press OK, making sure that I've got it aligned at the top, which I did do. I've got some lines I can line it up to here with my quilt itself, and so I think I'm good to go. Make sure the embroidery frame, let's see, oh, I didn't have it locked in. Okay, so this is where it looks like it's gonna start. I got my little purple thing, and let's see, I've got the I'm gonna change the size of the hoop up here too, just so that this screen looks good. So now it shows me where it's going to stitch, and I'll press OK. Okay, so now I am at the first hooping where it's telling me I can use these angle keys to change the way it's stitching up or down by 10%, 1%, 0.1%. And then here's the area where I can make it smaller or larger, narrower or wider, and then shorter or longer. And then here is where I can just tell the frame to move if I'm checking things. So I'll do that right now. I'm just kind of eyeballing across here if it looks good. And it does to me. I think I am going to see. Let me see how this looks. Okay. I pushed layout. I've never pushed that before. It shows that it's 3 minutes. All right, I'll close that window. I think I'm gonna move this up a little bit, if it will do that for me. See, this is about where I wanted to start the embroidery. So it's up as far as it can go, and I'm over about where I want to be. And then I think I'm just going to check to make sure it's the same. Okay, so I'm going to press OK there. And I think we're ready to go. I'm going to check this though to make sure I'm still at segment 1, which I am, so I'm good. So I'm going to press go. I've got my quilt rolled up, and I've got the bottom of it in a drawer, the drawer of the machine. I'm using a different thread, experimenting today. It's a kind of a cheaper thread that I found. I just wanted to see how it would work in one quilting. And I like the color. That's the main reason why I picked it. Because I saw these threads on Amazon and I really liked the color with this quilt. The only other color I have is this. It's like a goldish color. It's by Deco Bob. And I didn't want to do that with this quilt. I'm really liking the way this color looks, and I'm liking the quilting design that I picked. So it will finish this whole, looks like it will finish this whole hooping, and it'll end up somewhere over here. Then I'll have to move it over and match up that mark so it can connect that end mark with the beginning mark of the next frame, and then I'll start stitching again. At the very bottom of the frame, I'm looking at the picture. So when it hits the bottom of this here, that's the bottom of the frame. So that's as much as it will stitch in this very large hoop, which is kind of surprising. I think it would stitch all the way down. hopefully I have enough thread. I've never used this thread before, so it's supposed to be like 1,000 yards. And the last time I did edge to edge, it was 20 frames or rehoopings, and each one took 3 minutes too, so this looks similar. And I was able to finish that one in a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours. So I won't film the whole thing today. I think what I'm going to try to do is get this first row done, possibly show the second row, and that's what it's doing. And now is making the mark for the next row. When I move it down, that'll be very helpful. I have decided for my own eyeballs to use just a little circle that I found at the store, because it helps me keep my eye on this mark. 1 second. I think this is it. This one's harder to see. So what I have to do is move the fabric over so that this mark is about right there. And so I'm looking at this mark here, which is between the 4 and the 3. And I'm going to pull this up. And see how close I am. Roll this out. I'll have to take off there. Take off these safety pins. I should put on there so that it would stay together until I quilted it. And looks like I got them all. Pull the edges. Make sure that I squeeze the top and the sides. So that little, I'm also eyeballing to make sure that when I'm looking at the lines, like there's this line here, does that look straight when I've got it in the hoop? Here's my little dot. That helped me to eyeball it better because my eyes are older and I'm just trying to do things to help me. So over on this screen, it's asking me if I want to connect the next pattern. And I say, okay. And it's telling me rehoop the fabric to the right while including the right edge of the pattern on the left in the hoop, which is what I just did. So I've got that little marking, the little yellow dot over here already. So I'm going to press OK. Then it's telling me I can use the move pattern keys to align the start point, which is this. It's that yellow dot. With the end point of the previous, actually the start point is where this will start stitching. So I want to match up the start point to, hold on 1 second. Yep, I had to make sure I had turned off the notifications. The start point for the new rehooping is matched up with the end point, which is that yellow dot. So I'll press OK because it's just telling me to do that, and I can use these move keys to do that. So I'm going to take this dot off, and I'll use, sorry to go back and forth, but I'm going to be using these keys to move things around to get the start point and matched up with the end point. These are the keys that you use to actually move the frame around to check to make sure you like the alignment. So I'm using that. Okay, and over, and here's the red cross. See if you can see that. There's a red cross. It's right here, very faint. Here's the end mark. So I just have to move it down a little bit. And I usually like to line it up like one stitch over. So I'm going to say I'm okay. Now over here, it's telling me use the rotate keys to adjust the angle of the pattern while keeping your eye on the points around the pattern. So you can use those the angle points keys in order to move the frame around so that it looks right. I'm going to press OK. So those are those angle keys it's talking about. And I don't usually have to use these, but I haven't had to. But we'll see how this one goes. I'll move you over there. So I'm just looking at all the angles. I got able to get in here better and straighten it. This looks like it's okay. So it's going across. I'm pushing the move keys. It kind of looks like this is going down. So I'm going to move it up. And, you know, I'll have to recheck to make sure that this the ending point matches up still. All right, so now that part looks straighter. Definitely. So I can go down the side, see if I like how that's looking. It looks pretty good to me. And across, I'll go to the middle. Okay. I think my end point got moved because I had moved that fabric. So I'm moving this middle point usually matches up to the end point. So let's see if I can get it to match up just by adjusting the rest of the fabric, which looks good. So I'm going to go up and I'll go to the bottom again and then the middle. Okay. There's the middle. And we're pretty good. So I'm going to press OK. And this is where we can start stitching again. See up. See how it was just a little bit higher. So when I moved that fabric at the top, I made this part go off a little bit because it was way off. I don't know if you saw it, but I saw it. So I only had to pull up on the fabric at the top to get this to line up. So we're good. These are the things you gotta work at, finagling. I've been using that word a lot lately. So this is hoop 2. When it gets to, I'll tell you right here, that's the top of the frame. Here we're getting to the top now, so that's as far as it will quilt. But I think that should be okay because I'm going to bind the edge. And I think with the fabric that I'm going to use, it's going to look fine if it's not quilted like all the way to the edge. You know, all of these little quilts I'm doing are practice for my edge-to-edge journey. The little panel quilts. This one was mostly a panel, but there's, let's see if you can see it. Yeah, this part here, you can't see it over there. But this part here and then over to the top, that was like an inside border. And then I did, this piecing work was all different ways to piece. And then there's an outside border here. And then an even larger one. So after I'm done quilting, I'll true this up and get it all trued up. And yeah, I don't think I have enough fabric here to do the binding where you know, fold it over from the back to the front. I'll have to cut this, screw it up, and then use what the pieces I've already got cut on the side to make the binding and attach it and finish it off. I do kind of like this design for the quilting because it kind of looks wavy, like the waves of an ocean. So it's a good design, like a pretty good standard design to use. I'll be using my yellow dot again when it finishes on the right side. And once I get going, I'm not going to be talking as much, because I think I've given you pretty much the information that you need to get started with this process. I would like to do edge to edge again, where I don't use the machine guided process. I use like a CD and I pull in those designs from the outside. Here's the mark for the bottom row. And I have to, whenever you do that kind, you have to make a template, and then as you reline things up, you use that template instead of this machine guided process. So it's giving me the questions again, and this I'll get for the rest of this row. Yes, I want to connect the next pattern, but I'm going to put my little yellow dot down first. So I put it right there on the fabric. If you want to see, there's the yellow dot at the end of the design. And I'm going to press OK because I want to continue. Then it'll bring up the instructions for the next hoop. It wants me to rehoop, so now I'm going to keep my eye on here. I want to move this dot over to about there, level. That's the key. If you can keep things level, that always helps. And if you have a Babylock hoop, they're easier to me, they're easier to move the fabric through. Okay, let's see if I moved it over okay. And take out all these safety pins. Okay, I'm squeezing the edges, pulling the fabric taut. Oh, there's one more up here. Make sure, yeah, I think it's pulled up a little bit on this right side. It's so easy to get things not, out of alignment. But that's why it's good to use those move keys on the screen, so you can check as the foot moves across the fabric. You check to see if things look like they're aligned. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to press, so I got it all pulled over. It's been moved across. And it's saying over here to rehoop it, which I already did. So I'm going to press OK. And now it's reminding me about using the move pattern keys to line the start point with the end point, which we know. We're going to move when I press that OK button, it will move over. So watch, I'll just press the OK button and you can see. So now I can see how close I am. And I'm going to use the move keys now to move it up and over. And hopefully I won't knock things out of whack, because I didn't make sure the top was even, because it looks pretty even to me. So I've got it lined up. And just to show you, this is like the end point. So if you're ever moving things around and checking, when I press that button, it moved to the top. When I press this button, it moves across. So like if I was in the middle of checking the position by using these move buttons and I wanted to go back to the start end point, I could press that And you can see it goes back to that point. So it's a good thing that I use to double check that when I've been moving around the hoop and straightening things, that it's still on point. So I press OK. And now it's going to remind me about using the rotate keys and how I can use those rotate keys to, if it looks like it's out of whack, positioned wrong, you know, on an angle in one direction or the other, I can use the angle keys, these angle keys that I talked about. And if I needed to, I could use the let's see, narrower, wider, shorter, longer keys, but I don't think I'll be needing to use those right now. I think we're good. But I'm pushing the move keys just so I can check the angle across the top. And then I'm going to go to this middle one because, yeah, that's about where, it's always about where the end beginning point. So I think we're okay because it's not exactly, but it is. So I'm pressing OK because the angles looked good. And now I can press go. And it's lining up just perfectly. I don't know why that, I'm hearing like a tap tap sound with the needle. I might have to change that needle. I was doing some pretty heavy duty satin stitching on that bag yesterday and it was really thick. So I might change that needle, even though it was pretty new. I could have like bent it in a way where I can't see it. So I'm gonna try that after this hooping. This is hoop 3. Those little dots help me a lot. I got them, this is off of Amazon. There's a whole box of them. Different, I think they're different colors. Dozens of colors. I could have just picked yellow. I think that's what I did. And I can feed them through this little hole that's on the side. So I got it ready to go. Another one fell out, so I got 2 little circles. The directions for the next rehooping will be pretty much the same. I think that it looks like there's 4 across the top and maybe 5 rows down because there's 20 in total. I'll put my little dot on it. I could have waited till it was done here. Now it'll move to the center, hopefully. Yeah, so I'm going to change this needle just to see if that helps with that. I think that sounds abnormal. Abnormal to me. Well, make sure I got the right side facing me. It's telling me on the screen to rehoop, but I'm going to do this needle first and rethread. Okay. Okay, it doesn't want to do anything until I rehoop apparently. So I'm going to move this across to about there again. Trying to keep things level. Well, I guess there is 5. Well, I've never had one this narrow on the edge before. Okay, so put the hoop down about where I think things should be. Take out the safety pins. I think these are 2-inch, those 2-inch bent safety pins. They're nice. I don't always like to use the 505 to keep the layers together because I don't like, I guess I need to get a mask or something because I don't like inhaling that stuff all the time. Still some threads on here that I'm trying to trim off. Okay, pulling the sides, squeezing to make sure. Okay, yeah, there's going to be one more rehooping because I still got this. It just looks so narrow, but we'll see. I've never had one that narrow before. And I'm eyeballing these. We'll see how it turns out when I use the move key. So now it's telling me rehoop, which we just did. And it's reminding me about aligning up the end point. So now that it's reminding me, it will move over when I press OK. And when you use this big hoop, you kind of have to go the long way and to get it lined up right and follow the steps. Because once you press this OK button, this will move over. And when you use the larger hoop, it's hard to kind of maneuver it up around the top. That's kind of been a secret tip that I passed along in my other edge-to-edge videos. I'm sure other people know this too. It's not just me. But you can advance it so that you know better where it's going to end up. Like if I press OK now, I didn't press OK until this point because I needed this room in order to maneuver the big hoop. Once I press OK, it moves over. And then you kind of have a better idea where where you need to move the fabric over if you're really bad at it, like I was at first. But look at how it is when you're trying to maneuver this. It's really hard to get around the side of the machine. So that's why I follow the steps when I'm using this hoop. If I was using a Babylock, I could do that because you just take off the sides and you leave the ends and you slide the fabric through, and so you can advance it and do that and actually have a better chance of getting to the right spot. But over time, I have become better at eyeballing things, especially using my little yellow dots. Okay, so I'm trying to see the end. Okay, the end is right there. Just trying to get inside that like by one stitch. There, we're very good. Okay, so now we should be able to say okay. And it's reminding us again about using the rotate keys to adjust. So I'm going to use the move keys just to make sure everything looks okay and decide if I even need to use the rotate keys. We'll move across. I'm just trying to make sure this looks level and down. That looks good. Across. Yeah, that all looks good. So I'm going to go back to the center. And usually I'm like just below where that end point is. So that's where I'll press OK. And then we'll start and see how close we were. And we're just matching up. Oh, let me do plus minus and go back a few stitches. Because I did not thread it. Okay, so now I'll press OK. We're right on top of it, so it worked out just beautifully. See, this needle that you're listening to now sounds like a normal needle. So I'm going to toss this one. I think something happened to it when I was doing that zigzag. It sounded like when it perforated the fabric, like it had a blunt end or something. It sounded like it was sewing on top of paper to me, because I got more strings to trim up there. I'm hoping I can get through this project today, because I've got some other ones I want to do. Gifts I gotta get ready. I have to get certain projects done. I've got goals. There's that thread following the foot of the embroidery foot. I don't like that because it can hang it up and then pull everything off. So there, I trimmed it. We're good now. Yeah, how about I put everything on my calendar, so I'm poking myself to get these projects done, because I do have a lot on the agenda. I have a stand-up desk. I think I shared in the last video, and because I have issues with my neck, back, and knee, and so it's nice because I bought a chair that was like a hip level chair that I use when I'm using the stand-up desk. And the way I've got it set up, it's supposed to hold like 400 pounds, so that I wouldn't have to worry about it holding my Solaris. And I still had bad dreams about having the Solaris sit on there and fall, and so I ended up buying a desk that I put under this machine. It's not a desk, it's more like a dresser, a 4-drawer dresser that I put all my sewing stuff in, and it's about hip level, a little less than hip level. And so if something happened and the table or the motor did give out, the table would fall on top of the dresser. So I just trying to think of ways to protect this machine, because it is a big investment. I'm gonna get my little dot ready. It's almost to the end. Here's the row marking. Just asking me if I want to connect the next one, and I'll say yes. Here's my little dot. Here's this. I'm going to move that over, but I can't go all the way in. Well, I guess I have to, because that's where it's going to connect. This is really an interesting hold on one second. Project, because I've never had, it's going to be a new experience, because I've never had something that was not as wide as the hoop. I might have had it be close, like maybe to here, but not like this. So we'll see what happens. Getting everything pulled straight. Make sure that these squares look up and down. Here's my, I might have pulled it over too much, because end point is right there. And I would worry about these ends here because they're not together, but I'm not going to quilt that close. Hopefully it will let me shrink it that much. So let's say yes to this question. Reminding me about rehooping, so I did that. Reminding me about using the move keys to align the start point with the end point, and it moves over. And then I move up and over and up. Okay, and over just a tiny bit. Okay, so I'm going to press OK. Now it's reminding me about the rotate keys, so I don't need to do that right now, but I can be reminded about it. I got to take the safety pin out. And now this is where I'm hoping this button here, this key, will allow me to shrink it to move the embroidery foot further inside, because right now it's too far outside. So I'm going to shrink it. This is as far as it will let me go. So I'm going to go down to the middle and see if I fall off. Okay, and see if I'm even. Yeah. I'm pulling it just a little bit over. I'm probably going to have to adjust my start point again since I pulled it. Now I'm going to go back up. See that? Just that little adjustment brought it inside. I could put tape on it, but I think I'm going to try and do it without it. I don't think it's going to go off the edge because I can see the design shining down. That's another way to check it, as I can see it shining down on the fabric. Here's the red line. Here's the design. You can't hardly see it. It's very faint green because that's the color I picked. What a bad idea. I should have picked black, because when it shines down onto the fabric, it'd be easier to see. But I can't change it right now. So I think I'm going to press OK, because I think the angles, let's just double check. And I'll go across. This is the outside edge. I want to make sure I'm not going to be messing things up. See if it looks straight. It looks straight to me. The thing is now, if I would have said, okay, I really moved things around so much because I was twisting and turning. How do I know that start point is matched up? So one way to check it, and this is another way that you can use to go back and restart a frame if you want. But you go over here and you press the plus minus button. See, we're on frame 5. So if I go back to 4 and then go up to 5, it starts me over with the guided process. So I'm going to press OK. And now it's starting me, acting as if I needed to rehoop. So I'm going to press OK because I already did that. Don't need to, I don't need to know more about the pattern keys because we already learned about that. And so now it's asking me to align things up. So I'm pretty much starting over from aligning the starting point to the ending point. So I'm going to go up like I did last time. And then go over. And I'm right on top of it. So I'm going to press OK. And I already know about the rotate keys. So I'm going to press OK. And then I'm going to use that shorten or yeah. Okay. This is at the very top. There's like shorten and lengthen and widen and let's see, what's the other side? Shorten, lengthen, widen, and then shrink, I guess I'll call it. So it does look like it's staying inside the line, even though it's very close. And I think I'm going to press OK and see how we go. We're right on top of it. So I could also when I get to the right side, slow down the machine to make sure, you know, I have time to use this thing to watch. Be careful along the edge. But if I did this right, it shouldn't go off the edge. We'll see how close I get. I can also use the start-stop button to slow things way down if I have a problem with it being too close to the edge. I'm also watching on the screen to see where it's going, so I can kind of head it off at the pass. I can kind of see where it's going. I'm just holding this button in so that I can get around the outside, and it goes super slow while it does that. There. Just trying to get around this edge, holding the button in so it just goes one stitch at a time. Yeah, in the past I would tape this down. Along the edge here, but I'm trying something new. Just getting a little more confident, but you know, I don't want to take risks, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to see if this way will work without having to tape it down, because sometimes that tape is really hard to remove. I don't think it's going to be close at all on the rest of it. It's doing like almost the outside edge, but not quite there. So in that last row, it might need a little more support, guidance. I'll just be ready. Yes, I'm right on the edge there. Press it once to stop it, and then just hold it in, and it will just go one stitch at a time. Okay, I get it around the corner there, and then here's another one. We're almost to the edge. This is probably the last one I'll have to watch. Now, the only problem with the way I did the quilt this time that I can see right off the bat is I've quilted farther to the edge on this side than I did the other side, I think. There's the end. But we live and we learn, right? Now I'm going to move this back because we're on to the next row. And so I'm going to take the pins out now. So it's putting 2 marks to mark the next row. Now I'm going to press OK. And it's just saying wait. And that will tell me about 1 row is finished. To start the next row, rehoop the fabric to the left of the next row while including the thread mark of the the upper pattern in the hoop. So that's what I'll be working on over here. This is a little tricky. Yeah. Well, I guess that's pretty close. I mean, it's not that different how I quilted this on one side versus the other. But so I'm going to look for the, let's see here, those marks. I'm going to put my dots on the marks to help my eyeballs. So I've got one over here, and there's one over here. And it's got to be kind of slightly below the top of the frame, those marks. So I guess it's about right there. I'll roll this over. This got caught up in the hoop. Getting things pulled. And I'll see how close I am after I get this pulled over. I'm using this line here, the piecing of the flying geese, I think that was. It's been so long since I did that. It's only been like a month or two. But okay, so now I pressed OK because I'm done rehooping, and it's told me about where to line it up. But now I'll press OK, and it's reminding me about using the move keys to align the upper left corner of the pattern area with the lower left thread mark of the upper pattern. So use the move pattern keys to align the upper left corner of the pattern area with the lower left thread mark of the upper pattern. So the upper pattern, it made a thread mark, right? So there's a thread mark there, which I marked with a yellow dot. So we are going to align the upper left corner of this pattern, this hooping, with that dot. That's the goal. So I'm going to press OK. And then it moves over there. So look, oh my gosh, could this be my lucky day? So I can take this off, and I'm going to move it over and down. So I'm at the top mark, I'm lining it up. Okay. So I'll press OK. Now it's going to give me more things to read because we're on the next row. Use the rotate keys, which we know about, and the size keys. That's the one that makes it wider or shorter, longer or narrower, and angle and the size of the pattern while keeping an eye on the edges of the pattern. So if I need to make sure it's angling correctly, and I need to make sure that the pattern is as wide as it should be. So I'll press OK, because here's the angle keys, and here's those buttons where we can make things wider or narrower, longer or shorter. Okay, so here's my key. My button, my mark is right here, and the crosshair is here. So if I go across to the top, it should still match up with this side. And if I go across to this side, it looks like it's angling upwards. So I'm going to try and angle it down a little, and then I'm going to elongate it because it needs to be matched up to this mark. I think that's going to be close enough, but let's go across. And let's go down. And I just like to eyeball things, as I said, you know, checking this line. All right. It could be that okay, I'm just pulling things taut, and I'll go back up to the top, check that one more time. So it's arrowing. If I go across one more time, it should still match up to this. And if I go across to this side, it's okay. It looks like it went inside, so I can make it go outside a little longer. And since it looks okay to me across the top, it actually, if I put 1% down, then I'm afraid, yeah, it's looking like it's really shifting in this corner. That's the problem you have to think about. Look at how much it's shifted in this corner. So if I go up 1%, 2%, okay, now it's better in this corner. If I go over to this corner, it's going to be still above, but it looks, everything else looks good. So I'm going to press OK. And I'm going to press go. And so now this row, the tricky part is that what we just did. But the rest of this should be very similar to what we did across the top. With the only exception being is we're always trying to line up those 2 marks at the, where the machine sewed 2 marks at the bottom of the last frame. We want to line our next frame up with those 2 marks. And that's the only difference, because you've got that you're trying to line up, and then you're trying to line up the ending mark with the beginning of the next frame. So I guess I could have pulled this tauter. It seems pretty loose, but it's working. It's okay. And I'm going to check the speed too, because now that we've got this going, I'll see if I may not go any faster than this. I learned that if you use a Babylock hoop, I don't think it goes faster than 500 stitches per minute. This is not. This is a dime magnetic hoop. And I can't find my little purple thing. It's probably fell on the floor somewhere. I will do one more rehooping and then I'll stop the video, because the rest is the same. When you get to the next row, you line it up just like we did this. So I'll have one or two rows, 2 or 3 rows going down. So this is only the second row, and I think there's 4, because there was 5 across. I thought there was 4, but there's 5. And so the process is the same for the next rehooping as the next row down as we did here. And then I'll show you one more across so that you understand that if you're confused or need a refresher, like I always need. Then when you get to the bottom, the only difference is thinking about how long this quilt is, and if you need to use those lengthen or shorten buttons keys. So we've had to use the shrink, the one that the key that shrinks the size, makes it go inward. There's one that makes it go outward, and we've used those 2. The other 2 that are left are the ones that will lengthen or shorten, and I usually only use those at the bottom of the edge to edge. So I'm going to definitely use my yellow dot after it makes the bottom row markings. Okay, so let's find it. See, it's even hard for me to find. Here it is. Here's that one. And then I could put this one on here. Might not stay on for the next row. I think I'm going to pull it across. Here's the marking on that side. So it says, do you want to connect the next pattern? We say yes. And then it gives us the guided instruction for this next hoop over. Remembering to rehoop to the right. So I'm going to do the same as I was. Just kind of try to pull it over level. If I can do that, that also helps me with lining up the top. So I'm going to take out some of these safety pins. Make sure you guys can still see. And there's one more. Here's the other marking that I put a little dot on at the top. Other people don't have to do this, but it sure does help me. Pulling things taut so that I don't have the issue I had last time. Okay, let's see how this lines up. Okay, so here we go. I already rehooped it. Now it's telling me about the move pattern keys to align the start point with the end point. So I gotta line things up over here, and that's what it's telling me. So I'll press OK, and it should move over. And I'm very close. See how much that circle helps me. So I'm going to use those move keys to get it lined up. There we go. I'll press OK. And now it's giving me use the rotate keys and the size keys to adjust the angle and the size of the pattern while keeping an eye on the edges of the pattern. So again, if it looks like it's off, I can use those rotate keys. So I'm going to press OK. Now look how high this is, way up here. I'm going to go across and see how close I am to this mark. So I'm going to, let's see here. I think I need to shrink it. And then I'm going to move it. Let's see how far I am. So it's still pretty wide. I have my 2 marks in my brain. One is right there. I am going to shrink it down. Let's see how far that is. See how close I am still to this. Okay, that's still good. And this is still good. Okay, so I think I'm good because it lined up across. And I'm going to press OK. And hopefully I'll be right on top. Yes, I'm right on top. So those, when I first started doing this, those angle keys and this part of it was really confusing. I gotta find my purple thing before I sew my finger. Where did it go? Did it drop in my drawer? Huh. It did. It dropped in the drawer. Okay. Can you still see? Good. Okay. I think what I'm going to do after this one is show you what to do if you want to stop and restart because you need a break, or there's a thunderstorm and you need to stop, or you only want to do, so many frames per hour, whatever you want to do for any reason. If you want to stop and start or start over a frame, you can use this too. Wow, we're over an hour. Ooh, this is a long one, but I'm covering a lot. The trick is, while that's sewing, always getting back to this needle plus minus, because that's where you find that frame button where you can go 1 through 20 and go back to the frame that you need to start at. So the key is writing down where you left off. So I think I'm on frame 7 because the first row had 5. I already did 6 and this is 7. So I would be starting on 8 after this finish. So I would need to make a mental note, or better yet, a note on a piece of paper that 8 is where I want to start off. Then you can, as long as it's been saved in the machine, you can go back to that frame by getting to this needle plus minus point. So I'll be right back. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so it's finished sewing, so I'm going to put my little dot on the end mark, and I'll put my little dot on this mark up here. So I'm going to pull it through, or actually, yeah, I think I'm going to act like I'm shutting things down. So, okay, I'm going to press cancel. Remembering that I could, well, I have to get past these frames, I guess. I'm going to press the sewing machine and say, okay, to cancel the current pattern selection. Okay, so to get back into this, I go into embroider, the pocket, this first key, this first one that says the 20, and then I'm going to press set. Then I'm going to just say okay to the next 5 instructions. 1, 2, the frame will move. 3, the frame will move. 4, and 5. Here's the needle plus minus. I'm going to press OK. Segment 1, we want to get to 8. There's 8. So I'm going to press OK. Now all I have to do is rehoop, and it will start at segment 8. So I'm pretty much done with this video. I just wanted to say that. I want to thank you for watching. If you like what I'm doing, give the video a like, subscribe, share, and make a comment. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much.